and welcome back to the.g.life. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about my breastfeeding journey and some things that I'll probably do different the next time around. So I have a son. He's my only son. He's 18 months old. He turned 18 months about 2 weeks ago. So I've been breastfeeding this whole time, and I just wanted to start off with what I wanted before he was born. I wanted to breastfeed. I wanted to exclusively breastfeed. That was my goal, but I was like, we'll see what happens, right? And I really didn't prepare myself before I had the baby. Like, I didn't really do any research on breastfeeding tips or anything like that, and I probably should have. Basically, the only things I knew were things that I've heard from my mother-in-law or from my mom, which were that it's gonna be hard and it's gonna hurt and your nipples are gonna be really sore and very tender. And basically the only thing I did to prepare myself beforehand was get a pump, because I got one from my insurance company, and get nipple butter because I knew I'd probably need that. And that's basically all I did. So once the baby was born, we had the skin to skin time, and I actually had no idea that I was supposed to latch him on during that time. Like, nobody told me and I just didn't know. So I didn't, and then an hour went by and the nurse came back to take him. She asked me, did he eat? And I said, no. And she's like, you didn't latch him? And I said, no, I didn't know I was supposed to. She's like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're supposed to latch him. And I was like, oh my God, I felt horrible. You know, I don't know, this is just my mentality. I think that if maybe I would have latched him, like maybe it would have been a little bit better. Like maybe my breastfeeding journey would have been a little bit better. She helped me latch him on, and I told her, do you think I'm gonna suffocate him? Like, are my boobs gonna suffocate him? She looked I'll never forget this. She looked at me, she's like, honey, I've had women with bigger boobs than you, and they do not suffocate your children, their babies, and you won't suffocate yours. And I was like, okay. I just thought it was so funny how she said it. So yeah, so she helped me latch them on, and to be honest, while I was at the hospital, it was really easy to breastfeed. It hurt a little bit, but not too much, and because it was only the first 2 days. And I had so much help from all of the nurses, you know, because they were there to help me and to show me to latch him on correctly, how to put the pump on and all that, you know. And I wish I could have taken them home with me, because they would have made my journey so much easier. Once I got home, that's when the real work began, you know. So the first night here, it was really tough. It was so tough. He was crying constantly, and I think he was crying because he was now in a totally different environment. He wasn't inside of me anymore, and I kind of think that babies are still kind of figuring it out that first day or 2 days, and once it gets to the third or the fourth day, they realize they are not inside mom anymore, and that, you know, everything is so different. So I feel like that's the time when he realized where he was, and that it was a scary place because it was new, and he just cried and cried and cried, and I latched him on as much as I could, but he just was not taking it. And I just thought, you know, nothing's coming out. He's not latching because nothing's coming out, and he's probably hungry, and oh my God, my baby is starving. So my husband and I decided to give him some formula. So I had this formula and we gave it to him, and he drank 4 ounces, and he was like perfect, and he fell asleep. And I just thought, oh my God, he was starving. I have no milk, you know, my boobs aren't working, I have no milk, so you know, I need to start giving him formula. So I started giving him formula. Basically starting then and there, I started to give him formula, and I still tried to breastfeed as much as I possibly could. It was really hard to breastfeed, and I tried to latch him on as much as I could. So I would latch him on and have him feed off me, and then I would give him formula. And it was really difficult, you know, because my breasts were super hard. They were really hard because obviously my body was getting used to producing milk, and my breasts were tender and they hurt, and I hated like just anything touching them. Like, oh, it just hurt. And my nipples were sore, and there was a point where Michael actually ripped my right nipple. He like cut it, well, not ripped it, but he cut it, and there was like a scab and there was blood, and it was just a disaster. And within 2 weeks, I went to go see a lactation consultant, which I probably should have done way sooner. So I went to go see a lactation consultant, and I was full of all these crazy hormones that women get right after giving birth. And I went to her and she told me, so what have you been doing? What's working, what's not? And I told her everything. I told her how I felt so overwhelmed with breastfeeding, how I felt like I couldn't do it, how my breast hurt, how you know, he cut me and I just couldn't do it, and I burst into tears, guys. And I don't know why I even cried. Like, I think about it now, like, why did you even cry? I have no idea. But I think it was just because all those hormones, you know, they just, somebody was asking me questions, so I answered, and I answered with tears. And she was like, okay, well, you're doing this wrong. You need to do this and you need to do that. And I guess I was looking for somebody to comfort me, and she didn't. She was just very blunt, very straightforward, and she told me what I needed to do. She told me that I basically needed to put him on more. She actually told me that I needed to put him on about 12 times a day, and I needed to pump at least 8 to 10 times a day. And I was like, that's insane. Like, when am I ever gonna sleep, right? Because that is insane. And then she told me to start taking these pills. One of the pills she told me to start taking was fenugreek. I'm not really sure how you spell it, but I'll link them down below. I kind of felt like the lactation consultant was judging me because I was also giving the baby formula, and I just didn't like the vibe that she was giving me. So I never went back. I probably should have gone back or tried to search for somebody else, but I just never did. And I tried to just stick it out on my own. I just kept at it, and I was so tired and so exhausted. And honestly, to me, giving him formula wasn't too bad. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving your baby formula. I'm a strong believer in, if your baby's hungry, feed him or her, whether it's formula or breast milk, just feed your baby, you know? Really, giving him formula was kind of a break for me, because it wasn't just 100% me. It was me and the formula. And you know, Michael, my husband, would be able to give him formula in a bottle, and I would kind of just get a little break, whether I just sat there and did nothing and just kind of closed my eyes, or you know, I did something in the kitchen or whatever. You know, it was just kind of like a nice little break to have. So I don't necessarily think it was a bad thing for me to give him formula while I was breastfeeding. I think I tried to do my best, and that's what I did. And I basically continued to do that. Basically the whole time he's been breastfeeding, we gave him formula and breast milk. Now when I went back to work, that was really hard because I was still doing the same thing. I would leave at 9 and I would come back around 6. So it was a long period of time that I was gone. So I would breastfeed him before that. Before I went, during my work hours, I pumped 3 times. And then I breastfed him as much as possible after I came back from work. And whatever milk I pumped, I gave it to my mother-in-law, who was watching him at the time, the next day for her to give it to him in a bottle. Now, I didn't pump barely anything. There was maybe enough for 1 4-ounce bottle, which was like nothing. It was just 1 feeding. So I mean, I did the best I could, and I gave him that, and he drank that, and then the rest of his bottles were formula. And again, I just tried to put him on my breast as much as I could. I felt like, honestly, when I went back to work, I tried to do it even more often. I tried to put him on my breast even more because I didn't want my supply to go down. I already felt like my supply was very low. I didn't want to decrease it even more. So once I stopped working when he was 6 months old. I was finally able to put my pump away, because I swear there must be, is there a woman out there that likes to pump? Because I hated pumping. I absolutely hated it. So I finally was able to put it away, and I was so happy. I remember sending a message to my husband, I put my pump away, yay! I was so excited. So once I was able to finally stay home with him, I breastfed him all the time. I think by that time I was probably still trying to breastfeed him about 6 or 8 times a day, because I just felt like I need to give him as much as I can. As much as I possibly can is what I need to give him. So once Michael turned a year old, which was November of 2017, I stopped feeding him formula once the can was basically empty. You know, I think he was maybe a year and like 2 weeks when it was just completely stopped, and I just transitioned everything to whole milk. I probably should have done it gradually, but I didn't. I just switched it from one bottle to the next, and he was totally fine. He got very accustomed to it very, very quickly, which I was very happy about, because I know there are some people, some babies that have a really hard time with that. So now that Michael is 18 months, he is basically drinking whole milk all of the time, and I still breastfeed him, but obviously not as much as I used to. About 2 months ago, I was breastfeeding him 4 times a day. So I was doing morning one like around noon, and then another time around 3:30 or 4, and then one at nighttime. So I eventually dropped those day ones, so the one that I did around noon and the one around 4 o'clock, I eventually dropped those because he just wasn't needing it anymore, and I only kept the morning and the nighttime. And then about 2 weeks after, he dropped the nighttime, and we've only been doing the morning one, so the AM one. And I basically only do that when he needs it. Like if he asks for it, I give it to him. If he doesn't ask for it, I don't push him for it. He just, if he wants to, he can. If he doesn't, oh well. So most days he does breastfeed in the morning, but there's 1 or 2 days out of the week where he just won't breastfeed at all, and that's totally fine. My breasts don't feel engorged anymore. They don't feel like they're about to burst, just because they've gotten accustomed to it and they kind of gradually have decreased, so it wasn't all at the same time. But overall, my journey was really well. I loved it. Like I said, I do plan on continuing to breastfeed my next babies. Who knows when Michael is going to be completely cut off? I don't know. I'm not going to push him to cut it off. I'm just going to let him kind of wean himself on his own. So I don't know, it might be another week or 2, it might be another 7 months, who knows. When I was breastfeeding, I did take the pills that the lactation consultant told me about, which were the fenugreek. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm not exactly sure. And I also took the organic mother's milk tea. I just bought that one at Target, but you can find it on Amazon. I'll link both things down below for you guys if you guys want to check them out. I started to take all that probably around the time that he was about 3 weeks old. I took the pills maybe like 2 or 3 months, and then I eventually stopped because I didn't notice anything with them. But I was drinking the tea from that same time all the way until almost his first birthday. And I don't know if it was more like a placebo effect on me, but I felt like it was doing something, so I didn't want to stop taking it. I probably could have stopped a long time, like way before that, but I didn't because I was scared that if I stopped drinking the tea, my supply would go way down, and I just was not ready for that. A lot of the things that I did in order to help increase was just put him on. I think that's the best thing. Obviously taking supplements like the pills and the teas are very helpful, but I think the best thing is to just latch him on. Even pumping, I don't think it's that great. I hated pumping. I'd rather put him on, even if it kind of hurt me, I'd rather put him on. And you know, those first couple of days, it hurts. Even him just latching on hurts so bad sometimes, but you just gotta work through it, you know. If you decide that you want to just do formula, then just do formula. If you decide you want to exclusively breastfeed, then good, you know, whatever works for you. I just think like the first like maybe 2 months is the hardest when it comes to breastfeeding, and then after that it just gets a lot easier. So yeah, those are some of my tips and basically telling you guys my breastfeeding journey. Like I said, it was a good journey for me, and hopefully I plan on doing it again. So yeah, so let me know if you guys have any other tips or tricks to help with breastfeeding, just so I can be more prepared for my next one. Leave them down in the comments below and let me know, you know, how was your breastfeeding journey? If that's what you decided to do, how was that? Or how was it feeding with formula? Did you enjoy that? Do you plan on switching next time, trying to breastfeed next time? I honestly would love to hear what you guys have to say. But for now, that's pretty much it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everybody.